Welcome back, y'all, and happy Sunday. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. Today, we're going to be recapping Tennessee's first big OV weekend of 2025. Obviously, it was this past weekend. Several big-time players came up that, I think Tennessee could definitely utilize really early on, as freshmen, maybe as sophomores for some of them. So we'll talk about how that might fit into Tennessee's scheme, how that might fit onto this team. And I also feel like Tennessee has a solid commit coming out of this thing. So we're going to be breaking all that down. Of course, our game starts, I think, at 3. So we're going to try to speed past this. But as always, y'all, please do us a very big favor. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It will cost you absolutely nothing, but it means everything to us on this channel. So the first player that I want to talk about from our OV weekend is going to be Luke Thompson. So 6'1", I think 180. Really looks like he's probably closer to like 200 pounds. He's an athlete. I think Tennessee wants him to play at safety. We talked about his straight line speed being great. I had no idea that he had family members that ran track at Tennessee and played some other sports, did some different things. So he's got a pretty good lineage of people that went to Tennessee. He said that that's not going to necessarily sway him one way or the other way. He wants to do the best thing for him. I don't know who else he's necessarily looking at this point. I think Tennessee's in a great spot here. Now, he also talked about in his post-visit interview that he knows that he needs to work on his DB skills. He said that the coaches told him that. He already knew it. We talked about that too. Love him as an athlete, understanding now that the scholarships go from 85 to 105, if that all sticks. You can add some players that you look at him and say, man, this is definitely an SEC caliber athlete, which Luke Thompson most definitely is. But, I mean, for me, I'm still kind of wondering, even with doing the DB drills and stuff, would he be ready to really play safety in the SEC? Saw Austin Price say that he can maybe be like a Will Brooks. I think he's a better athlete than Will Brooks is. His straight line speed's definitely going to be better. He's probably like a 4.4, 4.3 guy. But Will Brooks was probably more of a natural secondary, more of a natural safety. And it's a skill set that, as I've said, you're kind of born with that or you're not. Now, one of the things that I can say is if you get with one of those gurus, they can change that. They can change it pretty quickly. And there's a guy that, P and I trained with, all the way up, from the time that we was little, all the way up through college. His name is Tom Bender. He's in the Chattanooga area, and I would try to reach out to him. Now, he's the best on the face of the planet. All he does now is just like pro athletes. I think that they travel him, wherever he does those like one-on-one sessions. He's not going to train everybody, but if, Luke wants to train with him, I could probably help him to do that. And really any of our players, that's who you want to go to. He will get you right for sure. He could take, I think Luke Thompson, going from a guy that I feel like his first year could be a really good special teams guy. He could maybe actually play wide receiver for us, I think, at a pretty high level, even as a freshman. It's probably some other spots that he might maybe be better suited to play outside of safety. But if he works with a guy like Tom Bender, all of a sudden, listen, I mean, if he gets like a month worth of training sessions, all of a sudden he's a 4-star guy, 5-star guy. And we're talking about, could he play as a freshman? Will he be able to beat out some of these veterans? He would be that good because he does have he's a really good athlete, but it just, DB part of it, I'm not quite sure how that's going to translate, at least early on. So that's the first player. Obviously, at safety, like I said, I feel like Tennessee's in a great spot. He wants to choose a school, he said, before the 20th. So coming up here very, very soon, I feel like he will end up choosing Tennessee. The next player is going to be KJ McLean. He's a safety. He's from Jersey and listed at, I think, close to 6 feet tall, 160 pounds. One of the things that I was happy to hear coming out of the visit is that the staff told him that, hey, you're a secondary guy, not just safety. You could play a corner. You could play at star. Like him a lot better there because if you're going to be playing safety in the SEC, he'd have to gain about 35 pounds. You know what I mean? That's a lot of weight. And it takes time to be able to gain that much weight without losing several steps. So I'm not looking at his frame and thinking safety, even though I think he plays physical. He's got, I think, a really good skill set as far as the coverage and all that type of stuff goes. I would like him a lot more at cornerback or at star, but he's got one more OV coming up. That's going to be Michigan State. I feel like Tennessee should be able to beat out Michigan State, right? It's just all in. Is he a real take for this staff? If he is, and Tennessee should be able to win that. But we understand now that with the revenue sharing, a lot of these schools that weren't really, in the NIL battle, they could be in the mix as far as paying these players properly, right? Like Tennessee might say, hey, we could allocate, we'll just call it, $100,000 to a player like this. And maybe Michigan State says, hey, we can give you $500,000. Obviously, he's probably going to be going to Michigan State if that is the case. So we'll see how things kind of play out. But the same thing with him. He wants to choose a school after that final OV, which again, I believe that it is next week. It might be on the 20th, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be on the 13th. So, around the same time frame, we might be having KJ coming off. We might be having Luke coming off. And I think that Tennessee's in a pretty good spot to be able to land both of these players. I think for really both of them, more special team stuff early on. And can they grow? Can they stick with the system? Get bigger, faster, stronger, all that type of stuff. Learn the way that we like to play. If that's the case, then by year maybe 2, more so probably year 3, these guys could see the field on offense or defense, and not just special teams. So with all that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and jump into the next player here. We've got Edward Baker. So 3-star guard or center. We keep on going back and forth, right? Does the staff want him to play on defense, or do they want him playing on the offensive line? It sounds like it is offensive line. He met with Coach E, said that he really likes, what they're talking there. I think Tennessee is now the number 1 school for Edward Baker. Plays at St. Francis. That's a national powerhouse. You know what I'm saying? They play a national schedule. So you're seeing the other OVs that he has. He actually had one that was set up with Penn State, but he switched that one with Ole Miss. So I'd say that right now it's us and it's Ole Miss. But we'll go ahead and pull up his clips for y'all so that y'all can see how he looks on film. But there's a lot of things that I like about him. So he's playing tackle for his high school team. And I think that his pass pro looks good. Obviously, his run blocking is going to look good, too. He's a bigger guy, 6'3", 315. As far as the weight goes, he should be able to come in. And I'm not going to say he's going to be able to play, but he should be maybe close to being physically ready to play for Tennessee as a freshman. But we've got, listen, our offensive line, we're deep. We got some young guys that have been, waiting their turn that are going to be ready. So will he come in and really be able to push for a starting spot? I think that's possible. But one of the things that I'm looking at with him, like you see, he's got that nastiness to him. He's got that dog to him, which I absolutely love. But I think that he would have to definitely get his foot speed a little bit quicker. Tennessee, I feel like, wants to move to more outside zone, having the guards and the offensive linemen that can move better, picking up stunts and things like that better. So it might take him more time to get that part of his game ready to actually play and start for us. But really, really like him. I think he's underrated. I'll say it that way. But we will see what happens with this whole thing. Feels like he's about in that same boat where once he's done with all of his OVs, he's going to pull the trigger. Again, I think it's Tennessee. I think it's Ole Miss. He sees Ole Miss last, right? So, Kiffin's going to have some tricks up his sleeve for sure. And, we'll see. Does he want to take that trip? Because that's a lot further, right? Coming from Maryland to Tennessee, that's a lot closer than going all the way to Mississippi. So that could also, that could be something that helps Tennessee out. But I really, really like his game. I know that a lot of folks see 3-star and they say, well, he's just a 3-star, but a lot of times those rankings and stuff for me just aren't very accurate. So let's go on to the next player here, y'all. It's going to be Keshan Elizer, right? I think Tennessee wants him to play at Leo, 3-star guy. Another one, underrated. I think Tennessee's in his top 3. I maybe could have said top 2. It's just hard to get a read off of what he was saying, but he's got 4 OVs set up. Vatech, that's the team that you're going to see a lot of. That's just kind of like coming out of nowhere. But Georgia Tech, that's one I can tell you they're doing a really, really good job with all players. You got to watch out for them. He's got the Buckeyes. That one's coming up next week. And then he's got Florida State. So I think Tennessee's probably again, in his top 2. I said top 3, but probably top 2. Either way, let's go ahead and take a look at some of his clips. And, let's talk about his game some. So I love guys that can play out in space, right? Like if you're playing Leo for us, that's a linebacker. It's a pass rusher, but we drop him in coverage and do a lot of different things with him. I think that he can do that. Like you see him coming off of the edge. His first step is crazy. He's got a really nice pass rushing stride length. I think, he's got a lot of length, man. He's got some long arms. And you're seeing some kind of like pass rush moves too, which, they're not like high level pass rush moves. But one of the things that I've noticed is that with these linemen, right, like with these pass rushers, you kind of either have it by the time that you are like a junior, senior in high school, or you kind of don't. Like I don't really see too many players that are adding pass rush moves as they get older. Now, if you've got, and I don't know if it's a coordination thing or exactly what that is, but if you've got a little wiggle to your game, you know what I'm saying, then the coaches can maybe add a little something to that. So seeing that he's already got a little bit of that wiggle, I think he's going to be a freaking monster if we can close out on him. So, several guys up front for Tennessee. I don't know how many Leos Tennessee's planning on taking. We're going to talk about some more here in just a minute. But, yeah, I don't think that you can ever have too many of them. But he could maybe – I don't know if he would be a guy that you look at and you say, man, maybe he could grow into a stand-up backer. You know what I'm saying? I think he's a real true pass rush guy. Might be able to play some strong side in. We love that versatility. But, yeah, really, really good guy. Really, really good player. Sounds like he loved Tennessee. We'll see what happens coming out of this thing. Now let's go on to the next player here, y'all. We're gonna keep it moving and try to get y'all out in time for the baseball game. So this next one is Kendrick Ghost, and we talked about him, 4-star guy. I said I think he might be more of a strong side in, but he said that the staff wants him to play at Leo. I think he also said one of the other backers. I don't know if he meant like a Sam or like a whatever. He might be talking about strong side in. I think that's really where his high ceiling is at. But for me, I think Tennessee's still in his top two. It's us and his UGA. His dad played at UGA, but he played for Coach Garner. And I saw some pictures of him and his family up on campus. You could tell that they were really, really having a great time. But Vatek, seeing them popping up one more time. So he's got UGA next week. I think he's going to take all of his visits. He said it's going to be a tough choice in who he picks. But once he's done with his visits, he will sit down and, kind of like look at the team side by side and, end up choosing where he's going to go. And actually, you know what? I don't have his clips up here, so we're not going to go through those, but we've gone through him several times. Really, really good player. I also think that he could maybe play out in space some. And whenever I say out in space, I'm talking about a stand-up linebacker. He's got a little bit of that to his game, but I don't know that strong side in or Leo, one of those two. So next, y'all, let's go to the next one. This is going to be Joel Wyatt. So he said that the staff wants him to play at Leo or at Sam. Y'all can see up at the top. I think that we're in his top three, but really I think that he's a solid commit to our Tennessee Volunteers, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute. But his other OVs is going to be next week in Vandy. Last one's going to be UGA. I didn't know that UGA was really even on his list of teams that he wanted to go out there and visit. It doesn't, to me, make a huge deal because, like I said, I think that he's a solid commit. Whenever they were interviewing him, this was from VolQuest. If y'all want to go back and check it out, it might have been Austin Price that asked him this, or one of the other guys. But they were like, where does Tennessee sit at? And he was like, I can't really say that. There was a lot of questions that they kept on asking him. He was like, I can't really say, or he just wouldn't, he wouldn't go into details with it, which leads me to think that he has already pulled the trigger. There's something else. I don't know how true this is. It's kind of like an urban legend for all the players that come up on these visits. But if they take their pictures in that black and orange jersey, I think it's been true pretty much every single time. They are silent commits. I think that he is one. And, Leo is a place that I could see him maybe growing into. It's going to take him a couple of years to get that big. I'm trying to think like Caleb Herring, right? He came up. He was even bigger than it. Caleb Herring came up, but I want to say maybe 205. So with Joel Wyatt, he's 6'4", 185, 190. That is, and it took Herring a couple of years. He really bought in. He gained a whole lot of weight for sure. It took him a couple of years to get to that point. At 185, as lean as Joel Wyatt is, as far as I can see it, I think it's going to be tough for him to get up to 245, 245 to 250, which is what our Leos play at. But if he's playing at one of the stand-up backers, which he could definitely do, P and I said it 100,000 times. This is a guy that we love playing at safety. This is a guy that we love, the staff likes him to say, hey, he could grow into an edge. Well, in between for that would be stand-up backer. So that just adds some more depth there, but he's a just really versatile guy. He can play on offense too. Great athlete. He's got a really, really high ceiling somewhere on this defense gadget piece for Coach Banks. But yeah, I mean, you could tell that he really likes Tennessee. And I don't know if he's really going to take all of his visits. He might just go ahead and come out and say, hey, I did choose Tennessee, but we'll see. I think that by early next month, Tennessee will probably have, just based off of this weekend, we could end up having 4 or 5 guys pull the trigger. Let me go ahead and get into the chats right here. What's going on, dog? Happy to see you in here. I think G is going to make that one happen. I'm not sure which one. If you're talking about Kendrick, I think that one's. I think he's coming on home. I feel great about it. Like, I'm not just saying that. I really sincerely do feel good about it. So the last player here, y'all, is going to be Darius Gray, 5-star, the number 1 interior offensive lineman in this class based off of On 3. You can see all the OVs. He had a total of like 9 of them. I think Tennessee's in its top 3. The insider said that Tennessee's in its top 2. They said us or LSU. Now, I've heard LSU being mentioned throughout this entire process. We told you Tennessee was very high up on his board. Prior to him coming up on his visit, you can see that South Carolina will be his last OV. South Carolina, I've heard a whole lot of smoke there too, which is why I personally feel like it's top 3. Coming out of the visits, the players always have great things to say, about Tennessee. And it was the same thing last time that he visited us, loved this, loved that, talked about playing next to David Sanders. He's I'm not gonna say he's a smaller guy, but he's like more lean. He's kind of, more like David Sanders, where David Sanders came in at like 275. He's up to 295 now, trying to get up to 305. he looks at himself kind of like that same thing. I think he said that he was playing at 270 last year, and he knows that once he adds that extra muscle and that strength comes, he's going to be a freaking mauler. But you're seeing on his film, I mean, it's everything. He's a very, very good-looking athlete playing on the offensive line. That'd be huge, man. Tennessee can add a guy like this, again, playing alongside of David Sanders for our future. You know, it could be next year because I think that he could probably come in and maybe earn a starting spot. It's possible. You know, I think he's good enough. You know, the other guys aren't going to go away lightly, but for sure, and David Sanders probably like last year in what that would be the 27 year. You know, dude, the offensive line is going to be crazy if we can land it. But it's such a long way to go. He's taken, I don't even know how many visits. You know, I'm not even talking about OVs, but just going and seeing different schools. He's gone several places, multiple times. So he knows what he's looking for. He said that he wants to, once he's done with all of his visits, he wants to sit down and figure out where he's going. This one probably would go all the way to like signing day, right? Like a lot of these very highly rated players is going to go all the way to the freaking wire. It might come down to NIL. You know, he said he's got to have like a pros and cons list, which everybody should be doing. You know, he said he's going to have to sacrifice something somewhere, which is very, very true. So I think Tennessee is in a good spot. It's all about closing. I've said this too. If Tennessee really wants him, Tennessee can land him. It's just all in. Are you willing to do what it takes? But, you know, I think we might be able to allocate enough funds and all that to being able to bring in a guy like Darius Gray. He would be, I think, the first 5-star interior offensive lineman that this staff has brought in. That would be huge. I think that we've done a really good job with our guards. I mean, I'll say that. I think that our guards have played well. If you look back to last season, I think that Andre Carrick was one of our, most consistent offensive linemen. It was him and it was Cooper Mays. Those guys were, the most consistent. So I know that, and, I didn't even freaking, I didn't love Andre Carrick's film coming out of Texas. That was one of the worst ones that we broke down. So I'm just saying, Coach E, I know a lot of folks give him grief, but I think he's doing a pretty good job with the guys that he's had up on campus and getting them ready to daggone play ball. So that's going to be it, y'all. I would love to see us next week, on that next OV. I think we might have some more safeties coming up. We got to close out on some guys that we feel like can help this team out at safety in year one, because we need the depth bad. It feels like that transfer portal, they better be tampering. Like, they better know somebody that's on the team that's not really happy that they're going to be able to go out there and get, because we're going to need some more depth at safety for sure. But that's it for my thoughts, man. I hope that y'all have a great rest of your day. We'll probably come back after this game with Tennessee again, man. I'm hoping, of course, we're all hoping that we can pull it out, but we'll see, man. This is do or die time. So we'll probably be coming back in a few hours if the game does indeed start at 3. But as always, y'all, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Peace.